Manoj, Manoj,
Yes,
are you
sir.
there? Ah,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
so initiate some question at the beginning every day. Okay.
Okay, 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 sir.
So today some questions you can initiate. We can spend some time. You have anything in
Uh,
mind?
Sir, I have to think a bit, sir. Like
Okay.
last time we were talking about tunneling, no, sir. That
Oh, that tunneling. Acha.
yeah,
That is very important things.
yes, sir.
Okay. Uh, One questions to all the participants, or sorry, I am using word participants because none of them are asking questions. That's why I use the word participant, but is a class. It is a class. So question to the student. We have UTM. UTM is, you know UTM, what is UTM? Anyone have any idea what is UTM? Okay, you are searching in the net. Okay, fine. No problem. That's good. So we have firewall. I am changing the terminology UTM to firewall and network access control. That is our Fortinet firewall, which is also called UTM. And this is a Chinese type. So it try to stop each and every persons go out of the campus to do whatever they like. It's not allowed. It's too much restrictive. Too much restrictive. For example, if you want to do UDP, earlier it was not allowing, now it is allowing for a certain ports. So how to bypass our IT firewall so that you can do when you are in the campus, you can do whatever you like. What are the options available? Considering that the port 443 is allowed, that is HTTPS. HTTP is not allowed. Similarly, some of the ports are allowed. Fixed ports are allowed. Check which are the ports allowed, if possible. Using that port, can I do something? One example I am talking. At present, what I am using is my connection is designed in such a way the TCP or firewall can camouflage or firewall can assume my connection what I am using is TCP, but actually I am not using TCP. I am using a fake TCP. You search in the net, you will find there is a term called fake TCP. What is fake TCP? It is basically principle is take care of that initial TCP establish a connections, send, syncac, all this type. It is actually mimicking TCP, and the firewall assume that it is a TCP connections, but actually one UDP connections. So please read the fake TCP, you will get to know a lot. Like this, what are the options available? We can bypass our firewall. That is one of the important informations we need, specifically those who are already in campus. For them, it is very, very important how to bypass our firewall. So if you know which are the ports are available to open and what kind of protocol is running on those ports, so then you can come up with some kind of tunneling, what the word he has used, Manoj, tunneling. Please check and come back. We'll have a discussion. Now we'll start today's class. It's a repetition of few last slides, repetition of the random number generator. However, if you have question, you can raise your voice. So what we discussed in the last class is random number generator. Random numbers are part and parcel of our life. Here only talking about related to cryptography, that is key distributions. We have to distribute the key. Keys are nothing but random numbers. Similarly, freshness of the communications can be known by every time any communication I do, I should use my communication with one random number that is called number ones, nonce. Any session key, anytime we generate and communicate in as I mentioned in SSL, TLS 1.0 to 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, session key generates. These session keys are nothing but random number also. Generation of key in RSA or any public key cryptography, it is also very important. Most probably you started your laboratory, whatever lab assignment I have given, you will find there are quite a good amount of options. If you start working OpenSSL, you will find a lot idea which will give you how cryptographic things happen in the SSL connections. It's called OpenSSL, actually a secure socket layer, but now it is converted into TLS because of standard. Netscape Navigator was the SSL originator, but Microsoft killed that Netscape Navigator because they acquire or became together and they started Internet Explorer, and finally they killed the Netscape Navigator. And Firefox, what we are looking is the outcome. Those who are not interested to remain in Netscape Navigator, they came up, created the Firefox. So Microsoft killed the Netscape Navigator. Those they came up with SSL 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. After that, TLS and subsequently TLS 1.3. Today's scenario highly usable. So what I wanted to say that random number generator is very, very important. Random number generator is also required for the symmetric key encryption. Other than cryptography, random number is used heavily in VLSI, those who do VLSI testing, VLSI this, software testing, also it is used. You can bring any field, you will find that random number generator is very, very important. But there random number and here random number, there are a lot of difference. There is no strict rule that random number has to follow certain pattern. It semi or pseudo random is good enough. But here it is randomness is very important, and randomness is defined in terms of uniform distributions. So and independence. So basic thing is that frequency of occurrence of ones and zero should be approximately equal, that is 50-50, half. Independence, no one sequence, subsequence in the sequence can infer the previous as well as future bits. That's why every bits are independent. Unpredictability is what I told already, we'll discuss subsequently. So pseudorandom number generator, typically we use one algorithmic technique for generating this, but algorithms are always deterministic. So sequence supposed to repeat after certain time and follow a pattern. And that's why it cannot be called random, it will be called pseudorandom, but it can pass through a lot of randomness test. So what we'll have seen here in this picture, there is two random number generator there is called pseudo-random number generator and pseudo-random functions. True random number generator is basically the random noise or source of pure random, true random, converting them into bit stream. We need to by analog to digital conversions or binary conversion. So A to D conversions, and finally we will get the pseudo random bit pattern, and that will be called as true random number generator. We will discuss in details. PRNG is pseudo random number generator, which is actually one deterministic algorithm which input is seed. This deterministic algorithm is well known to everyone. Seed is unknown. Seed will be used by the parties and secret, and output will be bit stream, and that is called pseudo random bit pattern generator, bit stream generator, or PRNG. PRF and PRNG, there is slightly different. It is also deterministic algorithm. So what is output? And it is similar to the PRNG, but only difference is that output, instead of one bit, will assume set of bits or a number. So pseudo-random functions is actually generate a number of B bits. True random number generator, in the last class we ended here. What we discussed is the true random number generator. We need some true random number source, and we can convert that by A to D converter, analog to digital conversion, because all pseudo-random noises or pseudo-random numbers are, all true random source are analog, and we require to convert, and we have to remove bias, because sometime there will be offsets, because if I measure temperatures, temperature will start from certain value, and we offset it so that it will be different, so negative to positive range or desired range we can get it. And in last class I mentioned that Intel is using CPU. There are few thermistors measuring temperature, which is used for cooling purpose. How the chip can be cool, high speed cool or low speed cool. This basically, there is a cooling system with fans are there. So those liquid cooling systems, and liquid systems, they increase the cooling effect or reduce the cooling effect, that depends on the temperature. And the same thermistor is used to measure the random noise value, and that random noise value converted into digital and used is for the random number generator. Also, while discussing this, I discuss a lot of things. We'll come to that later on. Rest other patterns are available. I think you have read it. Pseudo-random number generator, already I have mentioned that input to the deterministic algorithm is seed, and that seed usually or value to the algorithm usually taken from true random number generator, so that it will be more appropriate and guessing will be less. As I mentioned in the last class, there is a term called rand function, RAND in C. There is SRAND, RAND functions in the C. Similarly, there are several random functions available inside the different languages or scripts. Please remember those random functions is given in use that as a random, but they are not at all random, though it is random, written as random, because it generate a similar sequence every time. So rand function without any seed. srand, you have option to give the seed. So rand function should not be used. At least the srand should be used because it has a seed or value inside it. You have to provide it. And instead of using purely srand, you mix the srand of 2-3 seed and combine and use the random so that it can be appears to be better random. So already I have mentioned there are two kind of PRNG. One is pseudorandom number generator and pseudorandom functions. Number generator, pseudorandom number generator generates bit sequence and it is open-ended in never-ending bit stream. Whereas pseudorandom functions it generate a value. Next time another value, next time another value of b bits. The value as a use in key as a session key or any key for random key generation purpose. Pseudorandom number generator requirement and pseudorandom function requirement remain same. So most of the cases we will write PRNG instead of PRF. We need three things to be remembered. One is randomness, another is unpredictability, and third one is characteristics of the seed. Seed should not be similar. I used one seed and I generated a series of bits. Then I series of bits generated the scheme. One of the seed I started using from there. Automatically, I will generate a similar sequence. Considering that, or if I talk about PRF, I gave one seed and based on that I got one number of b bits or value of b bits in using PRF, and by chance I will use that random number which is generated from the PRF as the seed, then there is a possibility it will follow same sequence. And that's why characteristics of the seed is very important. Seed should be the input value to the deterministic algorithm should be as random as possible. So if I come to the randomness property, the random bit generator needs to appear random even though it is deterministic. That is our first requirement. There is no single test that can determine if PRNG generate random number that have characteristics of randomness. So what it means, whatever we generate manually, all are pseudorandom. This pseudorandom is how much towards the pure random, we have to test it. And if we have to test it, then we have to test several, because one test is not good enough. That's why we have to test several and multiple times, and at the end we can say the number is pure, very close to pure random. NIST, that is National Institute of Science and Technology, Government US, their SP 800-22 specifies some of the tests. There is uniformity, scalability, consistency, and actually this randomness test has 15 separate tests of randomness. So your randomness algorithm or random number generator, if you come up with a new random number generator, you generate series of numbers and follow the test. First test is frequency test. That is number of ones and number of zeros always will be equal. So this most basic test and must be included any test value. Purpose of this determine ones and zero in the sequence approximately same as will be expected in the truly random sequence. That is the first test, and it's a mandatory test. Similarly, run test. is also another mandatory test. Focus on this test is total number of runs in the sequence, where runs is an uninterrupted sequence of identical bits bounded before and after with bits opposite value. So what is talking about? You have bit streams, you pick up one sequence, subsequence. It's a bit sequence, pick up one subsequence of sufficient length, where one end is 1, another end is 0. Then check number of ones and zeros are same or not. Basically, any random subsequence you will pick up, the number of ones and zeros in that run-on sequence should be equal. That is the run-on test. The other very important test is Murier Universal Statistical Test. What this test is talking about, you take a subsequence and try to compress it, or take the subsequence and try to compress it. If you are able to compress it, then definitely it is not redundancy exists and it is not possible considered as random. So basic philosophy behind, take a subsequence, try to compress. If you are able to compress, then it is not a random sequence. If you are not able to compress, it is a non-random. It is a random sequence. This is the fundamental 3 tests. There are total 15 tests. I also mentioned in one of the class that there are other group of tests which is called ENT. You just said ENT, entropy based test. ENT test suites, you will find there are series of tests available in ENT, and you can utilize those ENT tests for declaring it is random or not random. Fine. So these are the tests mandatory. Now I am coming to, till now what we have discussed, the encryption, that is DS, AES, and if you go and their derivative, that is we used in mode of operations, OFB, CFB, OFB, counter, and so on. And if you look into the OFB, CFB, and counter mode, what are the outputs? You try to do the random test, you will find they are random, satisfy the randomness test property. We will see subsequently. Similarly, if you come up with a hash function, new hash functions or new such encryption techniques or new hash function or new random signature scheme, you have to remember all random tests in NIST 15 test and ENT test should satisfy, because supposed to be random. The output supposed to be very close to true random. Unpredictability is a variant of randomness. Looking, unpredictability talks about I cannot predict a beat either in forward direction or in the backward direction. So if I have a sequence of beats, I know I got a subsequence of beats generated by a random number generator. What I can guess, I try to guess the future beats, that is called forward predictability. If I can try to predict the backward, it's a backward predictability. So my system should be in such a way the forward unpredictability and backward unpredictability should satisfy. Again, it is a, if you go to clearly look into it, it is again randomness test satisfy, unpredictability also satisfy, because there is no other option available till date. So indirectly is telling that the future bits or the previous bit based on the subsequence are not having any correlation. As there is no correlations, I cannot find things. This is basically talking about. Now the seed requirement, what we discussed, that seed to the deterministic algorithm should be as random as possible, and that's why typically we use the seed generated from true random number generator. Subsequent slide we will get to know how this is. Seed itself is random or pseudo random. That's the basic philosophy. So we use entropy source, that is nothing but true random number generator, sometimes called noise source. The noise source usually random, because noise usually create problem to our systems, and noise are random. Some cases noise are biased at a certain type, and you have to take care of the removing biasness, then it will be. So basically noise happen 5 volt above always, but there is quite fluctuations. So you have to remove that biasness. So entropy source is nothing but true random source, analog. We have to convert into digital, remove the bias, then we will get the true random number generator. And the true random number generator output, that is a function. You can say to a random number generator, we are taking a big value, that is the function or n bits, and feeding into the pseudo random generator or generator bit streams. Now comes to how I will design that random pseudo random generator algorithm. There are two types are available. One purely generated only for generating random numbers. That is, so purpose built algorithm. So algorithm design specifically or solely for the purpose of generating pseudo random bits. That is one category. Other category is algorithm based on existing cryptographic algorithm have effect of randomizing input. That's the basic thing what I told. I can have a symmetric block cipher, the counter mode, CFB or OFB, or those can be utilized for symmetric block ciphers or similar variant. Similarly, asymmetric ciphers we will discuss subsequently, that is RSA, Elgamal, or any other such can be utilized as asymmetric ciphers, and those ciphers also provide randomness, or the output is purely random, sorry, pseudo random. Those can be utilized or their combinations. Other option is hash functions, one-way hash functions, message authentication code. Those can be utilized to generate the pseudo random pattern. First purpose it was built for generating pseudo random pattern. Most of the functions, whichever rand, srand, or whichever is there, they are a variant of linear congruential generator. What is shown in this slide, linear congruential generator. Based on this, most of the rand functions available or random functions available in algorithms, sorry, languages implemented, where AM is a modulus, A is a multiplier, C is increment, and A and C should be less than M, modulus. There will be initial seed value and seed value also this, and they follow a formula. This is a formula, that is AXN plus C mod M is the next value, that is XN plus 1. And this X is assumed to be random as per this algorithm. But whole process, how it will be random, The whole process is totally depends on value of m. If m is a very big number or prime number, then there are residue possibilities are large. So m has to be as big as possible so that residue possibilities are this, and if it is prime number, definitely it will be all possible residues will be there, and it will be a large number. Repetition will probability will be less in small sequence if I pick up. A and C, the selection of A and C it makes it, as well as X naught, the initial value. So selection of A, C, X naught and M makes this acceptable as a random number generator or not. You can expect some questions in this for which or in subsequently that what should be the value of X and M and C and X naught A makes this is a good random number generator. Another important random number generator is used called Bam sub generator. It is again algorithmically, and it is also implemented in most of the programming languages, because linear congruence, congruent the previous one what I mentioned is linear congruential generator is not at all good because of the seed value. So that's why it is people avoid this and they use this BBS generator. The BBS generator assumption based on RSA, we will discuss the RSA later on. It pick up two prime numbers P and Q and take the mode for P and Q and take their mode 4. It result is 3. This is their assumptions. P and Q is a big prime number which mod 4 will result 3. That is their condition, they put it. Why? There is analysis also exists. Now P times Q is nothing but N. The N is used as a modulus. N is used as a modulus, and based on that it is designed. So it is crashed. We have to go back again to the this is okay. So any questions? So basically the P, Q are big number, and the big number prime number multiplication is capital A, sorry, N, and N so this N is modulus, and initially a random true number generator from where you generate a seed S first time, the S square mod N, S square that's initialized with seed S, that is written S square is mod N is the first case X, and subsequently the output will be square and mod N, and select least significant bit 0 or 1, that would be that is modulo 2, and find out the this. And it is found to be one of the best algorithmically the state generator, a random number generator, and there are some analysis. Now we move to PRNG using block cipher modes of operations. Block cipher mode of operation, counter mode is already recommended by NIST and ANSI standard and RFC 4086. Similarly, OFB mode recommended by X9.82, that is European standard, and RFC 4086. So ANSI standard X.82 is counter mode and this. So these are already recommended two random number generator, and because of this, these two are used for the stream cipher what we discussed. So these standards are like this. The simple formula, already we have utilized the counter mode and already we have utilized the OFB mode when we discussed about mode of operations in the last class. I don't want to continue this. So let us go to the other standard. ANSI X 9.17 PRNG. This is designed using DES, data encryption standard, specifically based on the triple DES, EDE, encryption, decryption, encryption with two keys, K1 and K2, that is 112 keys, bit keys, 56 plus 56, and it was popular and also now used in PGP, pretty good privacy in email. Here, the time, here two serial number input is used. One is the date and time in 64-bit format, and another is initial seed value, and generate EDE, that DES triple encryptions, two output. One is the random value, another is the future new seed. If you look into this, date and time, it is used here as a random number because this encryption may take care of the confusion diffusion and generate a random number. So date and time makes is that it is just like a counter. Is date and time 64-bit here fed into the first EDE, that triple encryptions, and the initial value, that seed, is also used as this block. The first EDE, the encryption added with the initial value and goes to the this new EDE, finally you will get the random output. This random output and date again will generate the output for next round seed. And this is found to be very interesting and used is pseudorandom generator now also in some of the application including PGP. Now we reach to next level. This is called pseudo random bit deterministic random bit generator. Again is NIST counter mode. This used, again options are triple DES, AES 128, AES 192, AES 256. It used the encryption options, and it generates whatever we learned, that AES, DS, use that and generate the random numbers. So let us see how it works. It is again counter mode type. This is standard, this talking about, better to go. They have four things: out lane, key lane, seed lane, and reseed interval, is basically output will be how many bits, that is the out length. Key length is how many bits key will be used. We will see that subsequently. 168, that structure we will talk about. It's supposed to be 3DS, triple DS. So Y168, we will see that. Seed length is how much the initial seed will be utilized, that is. And reseed interval they have defined because they don't want to repeat the same sequence again and again. So that's why there is a reseed interval they define. Let us see the structure. Please remember, this is a function. That means it generates a big value, but you can utilize as the bit stream also. It has two options. As reseed interval, seeding time or first time running the things, one conditions. Once it is generated, then it will continue till next reseed is required. The top figure, if you look into it, the V and the key will be supplied. This is reseed interval, V and key. The key is here known to each other, the party, and this V is also initial value is known to each other. If they have to generate same stream for the stream cipher purpose, otherwise it is a random number generator, it's not required to know by both party. So if you look into the first options, this V and this +1 is a counter to iterate this, encrypt. After encryption, we will get series of bits, and the series of bits added with true random number generator, random things, JOR with, we will get key and value. These key are used here for the second purpose. These key are not used. This is used only at certain time. Rest of the time it will be used these options. These options. So basically it will be used. This will generate key and value. This key and value will be used here to generate the functions. Again it will run. Again it will feed it here and continue. So first time initialized by V. First run you will get K and V, and based on K and V you can generate series of numbers here, the key and the value, series of number, again back here and do it. The top one, if you look into it, is nothing but a counter. V +1 counter. The initial value is taken from here, the V, initial value, seed value, and it along with the true random source. And this key is used for encryptions, and finally will generate this. And this, what they mentioned, that this can be triple DS, this can be anything. This key here used and this used, they have depends on that. So this is one of the important things. One other random number generator we will discuss after the stream cipher details, which Intel implemented in their Xeon processors. We will discuss subsequently. So if we assume we have a random number generator, and random number generator we have to algorithm is key stream generator algorithm is known to everyone. Only the seed or the key combinations is unknown to the eavesdropper or third party, but is known to both the party 1 and party 2, that is sender and the receiver. The plain text will be encrypted using the key streams generated by pseudorandom number generator, JOR with plain text, which will be ciphertext, and will continue. So breaking here is not, so what easily I can get it that small k, the key streams. If I know the small k key stream, can I get back the key, the original key or the initial seed? That's the question here. Stream cipher design considerations, if we look into it, the encryption sequence should have large period. What is he actually talking about? The key streams here generate, it's a deterministic key stream generator. That's why pseudorandom bits or bytes it generate, it has to repeat after a certain interval because it's a deterministic and fixed size. It should repeat. If we have message size bigger than that number of streams sequence, so it repeat. If it repeats, when it should repeat, it repetition should be avoided. Why? Because it should be bigger than the message size. That is the requirement. Otherwise, anyone can break it or crack it. That's the basic requirement. Key streams should approximate the property of true random numbers stream as close as possible. That already we have discussed. It should be pure, very close to true random number generator. That is, number of ones and zeros should be equal probability, and key stream treated, if it is byte, then all possible combinations should be there. Key length of the bit, which is seed, should be as big as possible so that the guessing probability will be reduced. With properly designed pseudorandom generator, a stream cipher can secure and based on the comparable key length in the block ciphers. We wanted to discuss RC4 because RC4 is widely used in wireless scenario. If you go to Wi-Fi, WiMAX, and similar kind of scenario where communications has to be completed in encryption, decryption process should be completed with no time or very real time manner, then no other choice, we have to use one stream cipher. The most candidate and widely used is RC4. This is generated, designed by von Rivest. The group of company, they have a company, it's called, there are three persons, the Rivest, Samir and Edelman. They came up with first they came up with RSA. Subsequently, they came up with a lot of things in which RC4 is one of them. It has variable key size stream cipher with byte-oriented operations based on use of random permutations. They use the permutation. They do 8 to 16 machine operations, and this is widely used in case of wireless, as I mentioned, wire equivalent privacy, WPA, Wi-Fi protected access, WPA version 2, and anywhere you will find wherever wireless is there, RC4 is very popular, and it is also part of the SSL or TLS, secure sector layer or transport layer security. It's very simple. It is a very simple one, and there are 256 bytes. The initial S is the 256 bytes, 0, 1, 2 up to 255 stored there. Key size can be any number of bytes. That's the beauty of RC4. Key size can be any number of bytes, that is in terms of byte length. This key are mapped to T of 256, just repetitions. First size of key length mapped to T, then next, and so on. Then they used a swap and permutation. The swap and permutations, that's the basic. Initial swap is nothing but like this. Go to the location Si, pick up I, usually starts from I equal to 0. This is showing one example. It starts from I equal to 0 to I equal to 255. For I, for a certain value, Si is taken here, and J also changing. J is also studied, and J plus Si plus Ti, we will get another new Ji. And this J will get another J. The location of Si and Sj swap. So basically it is swapping. S is swapped. Whatever was there, they will swap in such a way the sequence whatever was there 0 to 255 become random now because of this operation, initial permutation options. Once this is completed, it comes to stream cipher generations. Now S is a random permutations now will not be the sequence 0 to 255, but values are 255, 0 to 255, but which location, what value is not known. Then comes to, it totally depends on the key, which location, which value will be, totally depends on the key. Now comes to data generation, go to the ith positions, pick up the ith, whatever content, add with J, take the new J, new S location, ith location and jth location, and you will get T, value is the T, so it will be indexed in S, go to that location, whatever it is there, that that bytes is the output. And this Si, Sj again swap. So basically it's a byte swapping, continuously byte swapping, and one of the byte will be output. This is RC4, and this is number of paper have been published analyzing method of RC4, but none of the approach is practical against RC4 with a reasonable key size. However, you look at the right side, the more serious problem is that the WEP protocol intend to provide confidentiality on 802.11 wireless LAN network. Problem is not RC4. RC4 till now remain good enough, till now no breaking or no deducing the key options. But problem is not RC4, but way of which key are generated and used as input. So WEP, the initial values, the problem does appear to relevant other than the other applications can be mediated. What is talking about that if you go to the 802.11, how keys are generated, the initial transactions leads to break or crack the key which used in RC4. RC4 use the key. RC4 is remain very good. Till now, no proper cracking or breaking algorithm available to deduce the key, but 802.11 WEP specifically wireless equivalent protocol, wire equivalent protocol, this actually they exchange the information in such a way the initial key will be deducible, so it is breaking. In true sense, it is not breakable. So Rest other we'll discuss in the next class. Any questions you have, please talk to me. So the questions remain. I have plotted one questions. The question is how to break and pass our UTM happily for our